here is difficult and probably an audacious journey for a young woman. So this shows us how prepared she is and how much of an enlightened Brahmavadini that she was. She is putting the knowledge that she practiced. She learned, and now she is putting it into practice. Her strength, she is not discouraged. She is not depressed. She knows the truth of what is going to happen, but she stayed strong. She prepared herself, which shows how enlightened she is and how strong she is. And Aurobindo also has important descriptions here on her journey, on spiritual evolution, on her mindful journey. And the final journey comes. We understand that her preparation has come to a success because nobody can meet Yama. Death is beyond life. But she traveled beyond life. Her mind is pure and she traveled beyond life. She is in this timeless state. And the story also tells us this is a timeless state because the story describes that Satyavan, they went to the forest. Satyavan was cutting the wood and he felt tired and then he sleeps. And then Yama comes and then her journey is taken only by her. He doesn't know anything. She continues the conversation. She speaks, gives her argument how it is unfair to take her husband's life. And she seeks blessings. He gives in and gives her, okay, I'll give you 3 blessings. That's about it. You have to leave. And then she agrees, okay, all right, that is good for me. So 3 blessings, she seeks 1 blessing for her mother-in-law, father-in-law, 1 blessing she seeks for her mother and father. And then final blessing she seeks, I would like to have children, blessed with the children, and then he says, okay, right? Then he's tricked.
Not to behave like Sati Savitris, which is, these helpless damsels in distress. But by the story that you've told us, Savitri was so strong that she couldn't even find a man to marry her. It took a lot of hard work. It seems like in history only Ram dared to marry a strong woman. So where does this, idea stem from? And to basically bust this particular idea, could you give us some more examples?
Right, I know. I heard that too. Not just in Hindi belt, but it's common in South India also. They say that to the women. Don't cry like Sati Savitri. That's a common. So that shows how much we have forgotten about ourselves. She's so knowledgeable, so bright that men found it difficult to approach her. That is our culture. That is Hinduism. It actually regards each individual as an individual. Each individual comes with a potential. It's important for each individual to focus on realizing that potential. Not everybody has the same thing. Everybody has a unique talent, unique potential. And that's what we see. Of course, there are many Brahmavadinis and important scholars described in the Vedas. Of course, Maitreyi, the married woman, again, of course, she is a Brahmavadini. And then, of course, unmarried, we have others like Gargi and all those. And Puranas, of course, have many stories. And Mahabharata has the stories. Of course, Madhavi's story also much misunderstood, right? They only talk about the first part of, where she was given away by her father to Galava, but they don't talk about the second part.
Namaste, happy Dhanteras to all. Centre for Indic Studies welcomes you to another session of Indic Talks. Today we have with us Professor Lavanya Vemsani ji, who is a multi-award winning scholar and distinguished university professor of history at Shawnee State University, Texas, honorary visiting professor at the Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi in the Department of Historical Studies, and awarded Fulbright Global Fellow. She says that the feminine divine or the heroic Savitri is born on the blessings of the goddess Savitri and named after the goddess as a mark of respect. Goddess Savitri named after the principle of eternal life, which is represented by Savitur, or the sun, who is invoked in the most important verses of the Rig Veda, the Gayatri, represents the continuing of life and hope. This concept of life and hope is represented in the account on Savitri in the Mahabharata. In the process of her journeys, Savitri travels to the forests as well as the other world, the world of death in this case, successfully returning her husband back to life. Her journeys also symbolically represent the journey of the soul's path to higher levels of consciousness beyond time and earth, as represented in the epic poem of Sri Aurobindo, the Savitri. Today we shall listen about a breakdown of female brahmacharya through Savitri, the Enlightened Brahmavadini. I welcome you, ma'am, and I request you to take over from here.
Thank you so much for inviting me for this lecture. I am honored to speak today about Savitri, the greatest feminine divine we have in our stories. So before we launch into Savitri, though, I want to say Mahabharata has preserved a number of stories that involve female heroics and female divine. A number of them actually achieved important states of mind. The stories actually baffled many scholars in the West. When they studied, they even said maybe these stories were composed by women, or maybe women participated indirectly in the composition of these stories. They were baffled by the preservation of the stories of strong feminine heroics and feminine divine in our texts. So that shows how impactful and how important this story is. But we haven't really understood how important this story was, how important her journey was, how important, inspirational her journey was for the women. We always thought she represented a helpless, naive female who was desolate. Her husband died, so she is a faithful wife. She stayed there crying, and then, all that. So she was put in this mold of being a faithful wife and nothing more. Her spiritual journey was almost forgotten. Her inspirational steps were really not understood. Her path was minimized in the way we have recollected her story later on. And this is notable. It only comes out in the later 20th century and as we study more about her now. So the story happened a long time ago, probably 5,000 years ago, as Mahabharata is dated, but the significance is lost, and we're only realizing it from the 20th century onwards. Tells us how we have actually forgotten our own inspirational stories. It shows this is the modern world, but the spiritual journey, the importance of mind is even more significant for this stage because we have an electronic assault on our minds constantly, 24 hours a day. We are connected electronically. Our mind is bombarded with information 24/7. So it's more important to focus on spirituality, to focus on mind, to understand the important journeys of Savitri so that we derive inspiration and then preserve the consciousness of mind, the purity of consciousness of our mind. That is more important. for this generation. So as we go on into the journey of Savitri, I want to mention that she traveled. She has a physical travel on the earth. She travels to find her husband. She travels to live with him. So there is a quest, full journey in her life. And the second part of the life is she enters this deathless state, and then she travels to the other world. So she travels in this world for her quest, and then she travels to the other world, realizing herself and purifying herself for pure states of mind. So there are three states in this story. The first part is her birth and her growing up. And the second part is her quest and her journey. This is the most important part. And the third part that shows the spiritual journey and spiritual evolution of Savitri. So we will examine all these three states of her journey. So she's not somebody born. She has a significant birth story. Her birth story itself is indicative of arrival of light, arrival of enlightenment. So her Rig Veda has a number of verses speaking about entering light from the darkness. So she's that light. She represents that light. Savitri's father, Ashwapati, has performed vows. He performed eating only one time a day for a year while reciting the Savitri, the Gayatri verse from Rig Veda. So, and then Savitri blessed him. She said he was actually intent on getting a son, blessed with a son, but he was blessed with a daughter. But Savitri said, "This is your blessing. You should take it." So he said yes, and then he has the daughter, and he raises her as an educated woman who is given all education and importance, just like a son. So in those days, it is not unusual. Women also got education. Women also studied Vedas. They were also Brahmavadinis. So this is not unusual. She was raised as a bright, knowledgeable young woman. So because she's so bright, she's light, and she's so knowledgeable, she was not approached by anybody to marry. So her father told her, "You can go ahead and seek your mate." So she went ahead. This is where we find her real knowledge and understanding of life. Instead of going and looking at the kingdoms and others, she actually went to meet the sages. She traveled to tirthas and ashramas. So she knows the importance of pure mind, pure conscious. She not only studied the Vedas and the Brahmajnana, she also understood. We know her mind is pure now. She's searching for this real fulfillment. She's not just searching for somebody to marry. So she went to meet sages. She went to see the ashramas. She was looking for a fulfillment, spiritual fulfillment for herself. So she visits an ashrama and then finds Satyavan. His actual name is Chitrashva. So impressed with him, she goes home and then informs her father that she has chosen him. So this is actually the second stage. This quest, spiritual quest, and finding him actually finds beautiful descriptions, beautiful expression in Aurobindo's Savitri, the mother. He describes her travel as the path, spiritual path into timeless, deathless state. So her meeting of Satyavan is also described as a spiritual meeting in Satyavan's appearance to her. as a timeless state and also a meeting of the minds. So it's the true meaning is, of course, expressed in Aurobindo's Savitri. Aurobindo takes it further in the descriptions, how the mindful union takes place, and then how actually that furthers her spiritual quest. But she goes home. When she goes home and informs her father, Narada was there. As always, Narada, the informer, he knows everything. Kalagnani. So he informs the father because he knows what happens with time, right? So he informs him that the Satyavan is destined to die within a year. But Savitri, of course, not to be dissuaded. So Ashwapati marries her off. She comes to live here. So while coming to live here, in the forest, she probably practiced her vows. She probably practiced her mindfulness. She probably practiced the things that she has to do, because the Mahabharata tells us she counted each day. The day she met him to the day her meeting with Yama happened. So she counted each day. She practiced herself. She prepared herself. She's a new bride. She's taking care of her old mother-in-law and father-in-law who don't have a good eyesight. So probably she's doing a lot of things. But she still kept herself on this goal of preparing herself for this journey. So the spiritual journey here is difficult and probably an audacious journey for a young woman. So this shows us how prepared she is and how much of an enlightened Brahmavadini that she was. She is putting the knowledge that she practiced. She learned, and now she is putting into practice. Her strength, she's not discouraged. She's not depressed. She knows the truth of what is going to happen, but she stayed strong. She prepared herself, which shows how enlightened she is and how strong she is. And Aurobindo also has important descriptions here on her journey, on spiritual evolution, on her mindful journey. And the final journey comes. When the final journey comes, she marked the day, right? So she marks the day. She undertakes a 3-day vow. The 3-day vow is complete standing for 3 days, and not eating on the last day. So it's a fasting on the final day, but 3 days of standing, which is a difficult vow. She might have performed many other yoga and mindful spiritual practices. This might have been the last one to prepare her for her ultimate journey. So as the next events happen, we understand that her preparation has come to a success, because nobody can meet Yama. Death is beyond life, but she traveled beyond life. Her mind is pure, and she traveled beyond life. She is in this timeless state. And the story also tells us this is a timeless state, because the story describes that Satyavan, they went to the forest. Satyavan was cutting the wood, and he felt tired, and then he sleeps. And then Yama comes, and then her journey is taken only by her. He doesn't know anything. So when the life returns to him due to the efforts of Savitri, he asks her, Savitri, what happened? This is so dark. What happened all evening? So it's a timeless state. His life is taken. So he entered this timeless state. He did not understand what happened. His mind was not there, right? Timeless state. But Savitri remained awake, and she entered this timeless state of consciousness, and she was able to meet and talk to Yama, while in that timeless state, in that death state, he was not aware. She was in the deathless, timeless state. She was in the pure state of mind. So that shows the enlightenment of Savitri at this stage. Of course, she speaks to Yama. Yama, of course, wanted to, he cannot get her to leave because she's enlightened. She's in deathless, pure mind. So he has to talk to her. He cannot make her leave. So he continues the conversation. She continues the conversation. She speaks, gives her argument how it is unfair to take her husband's life, and she seeks blessings. He finally gives in and gives her, okay, I'll give you 3 blessings. That's about it. You have to leave. And then she agrees. Okay, all right, that is good for me. So 3 blessings she seeks. 1 blessing for her mother-in-law, father-in-law. 1 blessing she seeks for her mother and father. And then final blessing she seeks, I would like to have children, blessed with the children, and then he says, okay, right? Then he's tricked. So she's in her deathless, pure state of mind. She's discussing and debating with Yama, but she still knows what to do here, right? So, and then Yama, of course, he cornered, so there is nothing much he can do. So he actually gives the life back. So she comes back, and of course she's there. The pure mind doesn't leave her, so she's there, and her husband's life is returned. So she's happy, both of them. He wakes up and then asks her, oh, what happened? I don't remember anything. And I saw this dark man, but nothing more. So he remembers only part of the thing. But because she is enlightened mind, she remembers. Of course, they come back to the ashrama. They tell what happened. She doesn't tell him anything because she did not want to shock him, or she did not want to, anyway, shock, because he just returned. And then she also didn't want to say she went into this deathless, pure state of mind. She wanted, her family and everybody to be there to soothe her and her husband when she reveals the truth. She didn't want to tell him, he died and this is what happened. So they go home. And they were all waiting because Dyumatsena and his mother, everybody were worried for them because they have gone for a long time. So they come back, tell what happened. Savitri informs everything, all details here. So the sages understand. Sages understand how significant this is. So they praise her. And they inform Dyumatsena and everybody what is happening. So they return to their kingdom and everything turns out to be good. But the most important part, the third part is here. Her pure mind, her entering this deathless, pure conscious is represented in the Mandukya Upanishad. The Mandukya Upanishad, because, reciting Om and saying Om, itself is considered opening the eye of the mind. So saying Om is an important aspect of spiritual practice. So Mandukya Upanishad explains there are 3 states of mind. So the 3 letters that represent the Om, the A, U, Ma. So all these 3, Om, A is the waking state, U is the dreamless deep sleep state, and then Ma is the final state, the pure mind, the state, dreamless, deathless state of mind. So the 3 letters together, Om, as described in the Mahabharata, as described in the Mandukya Upanishad, are actually seen in the 3 stages of Savitri's life. And also in the 3 days of the vows that she performed directly before she entered the final stage of deathless, pure conscious. So, so she stood for 3 days, and the final day she doesn't eat, and she performs this continuous vow. So this is representative of this. The standing is the waking state, and then not eating and remaining dreamless is the final stage of dreamless, deathless state of pure mind. So the Mandukya Upanishad is represented in the conduct of Savitri, the three stages of Savitri's life, and how she entered pure conscious. And in her pure conscious, how she was able to converse and discuss with Yama, and then how she was able to achieve the impossible. The impossible was possible for her because she was in this dreamless state of mind. She is the Brahmavadini. She is not just someone who learned, someone who also practiced and achieved perfection. So she is an important and inspirational divine, feminine divine on the path of spirituality. So I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you for explaining to us about Savitri, ma'am. I was just wanting to ask you, this is a question from one of our viewers by the name of Prince. He says that if she was married, how was she a Brahmavadini?
Marriage is not in the ancient period. We have sages. Some of them are married, some of them are not married. Of course, for example, Kanva and all of them are married sages. Of course, there are sages that left the family and not married. So it is for learning, for the early stage of learning, brahmacharya is important. After once brahmacharya is done, learning is done, you enter the gruhastha stage, but you would still continue your spiritual practice. You would put everything that you learned into practice instead of becoming a practical, materialistic living person. That's what Savitri had done. She left all these material comforts, material wealth, went into the forest, continued her spiritual journey. So the important point is, of course, when you're learning, you don't want disturbances. So brahmacharya is important, and our Vedas and texts advise brahmacharya in the student stage. But once you have learned, the advice is to enter the gruhastha, but still continue practicing the spiritual journey. It has been done by many women and men equally.
Whenever we talk about brahmacharya, ma'am, we often only talk about the male brahmacharis, and that is because we are often told that they have virya, and so the conservation of virya is extremely important. So how exactly can we view brahmacharya from a female point of view?
I don't know. The actual texts don't talk about this conservation or preservation or whatever, because the original Puranas and original Vedas are not much concerned about physical aspects of life. So they are concerned more about the mindful aspects of life. So preserving the mind, entering the pure states of mind. If you can do it, married or unmarried, that's up to you. Somebody cannot do it when they are married because they're too taken over by desires. Of course, somebody probably can do it. It depends on the individual person. Our text, sorry, our text never mention anything to be for everybody. This is not one size fits all, or one, we are not this mono path spiritual religion. Our religion, Hinduism, all Dharma traditions for that matter, actually encourage individual understanding and individual practice. So this conservation of virya and all this, and of course I read about it in 20th century discussions, and of course Gandhi also speaks about it. But bodily fluids are just as common. Do you think about conserving your urine? I don't think so. So
Ma'am, could you tell us about some more women who have taken up this path in our texts? And because oftentimes we hear in, common language, especially in Hindi, we're often told not to behave like Sati Savitris, which is, these helpless damsels in distress. But by the story that you've told us, Savitri was so strong that she couldn't even find a man to marry her. It took a lot of hard
yeah.
work. It seems like in history only Ram dared to marry a strong woman. So where does this, idea stem from? And to basically bust this particular idea, could you give us some more examples?
Right, I know. I heard that too. Not just in Hindi belt, but it's common in South India also. They say that to the women. Don't cry like Sati Savitri. That's a common. So that shows how much we have forgotten about ourselves. She's so knowledgeable, so bright that men found it difficult to approach her. So she's that that strong and that important. We lost the story. We forgot to read our originals. The Mahabharata actually describes that, how bright she is and how men found it difficult to approach her. So, and her father tells her, okay, all these people are, so dissuaded. So you have to go ahead and choose your own, So strong women, Mahabharata is full of strong women, and I already mentioned the Western scholars who first read these stories thought, wow, such strong stories. Men wrote these? No, I don't believe it. Women might have contributed, or women might have indirectly influenced the composition of these stories. But that is our culture. That is Hinduism. It actually regards each individual as an individual. Each individual comes with a potential. It's important for each individual to focus on realizing that potential. Not everybody has the same thing. Everybody has a unique talent, unique potential. And that's what we see. Of course, there are many Brahmavadinis and important scholars described in the Vedas. Of course, Maitreyi, the married woman, again, but of course, she is a Brahmavadini. And then, of course, unmarried, we have others like Gargi and all those. And Puranas, of course, have many stories. And Mahabharata has the stories. Of course, Madhavi's story also much misunderstood, right? They only talk about the first part of, where she was given away by her father to Galava, but they don't talk about the second part, where she leaves everything to undertake her spiritual quest. So we have numerous women who have practiced like that, but we have been, suppressed, oppressed. India has been oppressed and colonized for almost 1,000 years, and we have forgotten our stories. We have taught, changed, and abridged stories. So, and of course, every time an institution is destroyed, our knowledge base and our books were burnt down and destroyed. So numerous institutions across India were destroyed. I come from South India. A number of institutions, Nagarjuna Vidyalayam, Vishwavidyalayam, and all these are ancient institutions that offered education in all aspects of education. There are 64 important arts, crafts, and sciences. So they offered education in all these to men and women. The only requirement is that they qualify. They show that they have enough mind power to absorb and learn these things. Once they prove, it's regardless of their gender, their status, their because these institutions have large endowments. They really did not need any support, or they did not need to charge any fees. They took anybody that showed that they are qualified, they have the mind to absorb the knowledge. So we have women and men. So a number of women scholars in Puranas and classical texts, Mahabharata especially, and number of women scholars and their compositions come from Buddhist sources and Jain sources also. So it shows the Dharma traditions maintained, but it declined in a smaller way. It's still maintained in the 20th century, but it declined. 1,000 years of operation is nothing to be taken light of. So a lot of things have changed. But it's important that we realize, we understand.
Yes, very true. Oftentimes when we listen to stories of Savitri or Maya Sita, there's this exceptional origin story. They're often
Right.
adopted. Even in the
Right.
case of Ma Padmavati, she's an adopted girl child. She's not born. So one of our viewers is asking, are there any Brahmavadinis that have been born without any superficial interference? Or is that the prerequisite?
No, I don't think so. Of course, there are stories like that. Brahmavadini is born and adapted. Of course, Sita Maya, we know she was found from the earth. There are of course important accounts like that, but not all of them are like that. It's not a requirement. Savitri, of course, she came with a divine blessing, but parents want children and they seek divine blessings. Of course, every child comes with a unique blessing. So it's only time that they realize their potential.
Thank you very much, ma'am. This has been extremely enlightening, and thank you for sharing us these stories. This is just the beginning of the many stories that we need to hear from you. Thank you very much. Happy Dhanteras.
Thank you so much. Happy Dhanteras.